punishable, right thinking will be as quickly rewarded. You will find it an effective combination.
Yo, what's up? Greetings, salutations. Happy almost Turkey Day. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. I got it to work this time. This month we did it. We did it with the fade out. You should be proud of me. I'm learning new stuff. Welcome in, everybody. It is that time of the month. It is time for Whispering in the Dark. The title I put on this is a little bit deceptive. Not intentionally so. It just kind of worked out that way. It wasn't so much as a question or an accusation or it was just generally. I had a certain thing on my mind when I typed it out, and that's just kind of how it came out. It wasn't intended to be like, a gotcha or any of that nonsense. I am fully aware that my audience consists of people of a variety of faiths or non-faiths or whatever, what have you. As I myself am not of a what you call a mainstream faith and all that. But yeah, it just is what it is. It got me thinking about some stuff. I was listening to almost a less of a debate and more of a conversation, but sort of in the vein of Jubilee, but less aggressive, I guess. And it was called, it's on a channel called Counterpoint, I think, earlier today. And it was Satanists versus Christians, and not so much verses, but like, conversations about differences and that sort of thing and all that. And one of the things that they got brought up a number of times was why Satanists choose to use certain imagery, which is associated with a very specific entity associated with a very specific theology, right? Especially since most of them claim to not believe in these kinds of entities and that sort of thing. Now, there are theistic Satanists, they do exist, but these were not them. It's essentially, they come across as atheists with window dressing or agnostics with extra steps kind of thing, because they do practice ritual, they do all the other stuff that is usually entailed with religious practices, that kind of thing. And it was just kind of an interesting thought to me, given how close it was to Thanksgiving that this came out. And it was actually filmed last month, apparently. Actually, I don't know. I might look that up here in a bit. I think that it was certainly filmed last month. It was released, I think, only a few days ago, but it was just before Halloween, because one of the last questions that got asked was about Halloween and how that's perceived on both sides of that fence, that particular fence. And it was just kind of an interesting conversation because well, I can see points on both sides. I don't subscribe to either religion, but when I can see points on both sides, I could also see where they were sort of tripping over themselves, trying to, I don't know, rationalize, I guess, their point of view on both sides. It was really interesting. I don't know. At some point, I might link it in the community tab or something like that, just because I thought it was an interesting conversation, and it was a conversation. It wasn't like a debate. It wasn't a bunch of gotchas and all that. Worst thing that happened, I think, was the same thing that happens anytime you try to have a friendly conversation with a Christian and they think that you're on the wrong path. And that's when they start saying, gosh, I really hope you come to find Jesus and seek God in your life, kind of thing, which is very, very, very annoying to those of us who are not believers. But it is what it is. It's also part of their religion and their calling and whatever. So they're not going to not do that. It's to be expected. That kind of thing. And as I said here, and I was listening to this, I guess that's what I had on my mind when I typed out the title of the stream, the who do you give thanks? To whom do you give thanks? Right? I don't actually care. To whomever any particular person gives thanks. That's entirely up to you. Or if you don't give thanks to anybody, or if you're just generally grateful or whatever. But for whatever it is, there are things in my life I'm grateful for. I don't generally direct that gratitude towards external entities outside of the bounds of the physical. Usually speaking, or generally speaking, it's not a thing that I do. I don't pray, I don't do any of that stuff. So that's not really kind of my bag. But for those of you out there who do, also keep in mind, I am not in any way trying to tell other people that what they believe is, not true or whatever. I happen to believe that it isn't. But that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily right. Frankly, I don't think any of us know. We don't know. None of us do. I mean, there'll come a day when we'll probably have a little more clarity on that issue down the road. That day is called death. It happens to everyone. But for right now, every one of us is just guessing, So, which is what faith is. I mean, if we knew for a fact what happens and what was out there, if we knew with 100% certainty and clarity, number one, we wouldn't be having all the disagreements we're having. And number two, it wouldn't be faith. It would just be knowledge, right? So that is what it is, I guess. So for those of you just coming in, this is the monthly stream, the monthly chill hangout kind of thing. I was going to do a bunch of ranting because there's a bunch of shit going on in the world. I kind of don't want to. I'm in a good mood today, and I'd sort of like to stay that way. So we're just going to chill out. We're going to hang out. Obviously, I've got my Turkey Thulu face on. In fact, I should probably here just a moment, and I'll fix something. Let's see, edit name and headline. Let's go with Turkey Thulu. I think that sounds about right. There we go. Yeah. One time only. One time a year, anyway. So I went out and got one of those pictures of the horrendous looking meals that they make, where they stuff an octopus inside it and like crab legs and shit inside a turkey and use like, eggs and stuff to make little eyes and stuff, all that, and made it in my face. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, given that I did that in about 10 minutes. It's not perfect, but it is what it is. All right. I need to double check something here real quick, because I think for some reason we have not gone live on. Oh no, we have. Okay, we have. It just was taking its sweet time catching up. We are live on Twix, YouTube, and Rumble. If you're in any of those places, drop a comment. Let me know that you're there. For those who don't know about this show, essentially what it is once a month I just kind of get together with you guys and just have a chat with the chat kind of thing. It's just sort of a one-on-many sort of situation. Less of a panel. There's not a panel for this. Most of the other stuff that I do is panel streams, that kind of thing. But it's just me tonight. Just me, just Turkey Thulu. Just hanging out, being here with y'all, that kind of thing. And yeah, it's the day before Thanksgiving. It's a big holiday in the West, particularly in the United States. I actually don't know exactly how it's celebrated or if it's celebrated in a lot of other Western countries. Like, I don't know I don't think they do anything in Australia or New Zealand. I could be wrong. Like Europe and the UK and all that. I think they might have their own. I'm pretty sure that Thanksgiving, as we know it, is more or less just a New World holiday, right? Specifically Americans, but I think the Canadians do something too, because it also commemorates a specific time, right? When the Pilgrims first met up with the natives and shared a meal together, gave thanks that they didn't die at sea, or that they didn't starve to death and freeze to death and all of that stuff. They were grateful for being alive, right? And the natives were presumably grateful for finding a trading partner. Obviously things deteriorated after the first Thanksgiving, but the first one was a good event. It was an event of coming together and of cultures not clashing, but communing, I guess is the word, and yeah, reasonably certain it's more. I mean, I think some of the some of the things have sort of branched out into other parts of the world, but the meaning of the holiday itself is uniquely American. Well, uniquely North American anyway. And it's a good time to remember that, and it's a good time to think about the good things in your life and all that. It's a good time to get together with family. In my case, to get fat and drunk on the same night. you know, um, and all that. Like tomorrow night, I won't be streaming anything tomorrow night. Because I'll be at my sister's house and I will be probably too inebriated to operate a keyboard. Uh, and even if I'm not, even if I don't drink a whole bunch, I'm probably going to still be too fat and happy. There comes to a point where you've consumed enough food, right, that you enter into this sort of that's not the right word, lethargic twilight zone of consciousness, the beginnings of what an old friend of mine refers to as a food coma. you know that feeling of contentment and fullness and peace that you get right before you zonk out and start burning all them calories. And all that. And yeah, I intend to be in that space tomorrow night. So no streaming tomorrow, but we will be obviously back for Abyssal Musings this week. It might be a little different this week because Larry may have family stuff going on. So probably be me and Abe and possibly Devil. So we'll just we'll see what happens. But yeah, we're gonna and if Larry can make it, he'll make it. It'd be he hates missing out on stuff. So if he can be there, he will be there. But there's a possibility he won't be, and if he's not, we'll just we'll hold down the fort for him. We'll keep a candle lit in the window, as it were. So, but yeah, so it got me thinking about about Thanksgiving, about what is it that I'm grateful for. To whom I'm grateful for is really kind of irrelevant, but to my mind. But what is the important thing, right? And I mean, obviously, first and foremost, but above all other things, now and forever, my children. I'm very grateful for my children. I got a couple of really great kids. The most fun people I have ever met, hands down, in my entire life, by the way, are my children. I have a lot of fun with a lot of people. My kids got everybody beat. There's no comparison, in my experience, which is so weird. It's so weird for me because when I was young, I eschewed the entire idea of being a father, of ever having a family, of being a husband, that kind of thing, which I'm no longer a husband, but it was just something that I just completely put out of my head as though there was no chance of that ever happening. And for a long time, it certainly looked that way. I was one of those guys, I mean, born in the 80s, came up in the 90s, and, I had absolutely no vision beyond my 30th birthday. I did not intend to live longer than 30 years old. In fact, I didn't intend to make it quite that far. I very much assumed that I would be dead long before that happened. And then one day, 30 came and went. And here I am, still around, still kicking. And I haven't planned for anything beyond that. Not a damn thing. I didn't have a savings. I didn't have any kind of career path. I certainly didn't have a family. I was just sort of drifting through life, right? Kind of aimless and getting a bit more despondent than even I had been, because I was just like, I don't know what the hell to do with myself. I was supposed to be dead. This is a weird, surreal place to be. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, but it did. And so I started to think about loneliness and the nature of loneliness and all of that. And I'm a fairly isolated person in general, even today, right? Even in my real life, like what you see on the old YouTubes and Twitwats and whatnot. A lot of that is a persona, like most people who do this kind of thing. You know, there's a lot of persona there. It's obviously who I am, but it's not all of who I am. And a lot of who I am is a very isolated, antisocial, can't stand to be around other people for extended periods of time kind of person, right? Which also, by the way, makes trying to find and form and maintain a relationship very difficult if you have a mindset like that. You know, it's one of the things my ex-wife always hated about me was that short of certain very specific circumstances, I hate being touched. Hate it. I can't stand it. Right. And she was a very physically affectionate person, you know, so she always wanted to be in contact. She always wanted to have some kind of physical connection, holding hands or hand on the shoulder, or, you know, it didn't have to be much. There just had to be some contact. Right. And it drove me nuts. Oh man, it it made me crazy, you know. And I didn't know how to express that to her without her taking it personally, because it's very difficult to do that with somebody who doesn't understand why somebody doesn't want to be touched. It's very difficult to explain that to them without coming off like, "Please stop touching me," ever. You know, that's which isn't how I meant it. I needed her to understand that there are going to be times where I really just need to not be physically in contact with anyone, you know, or verbally in contact with them or whatever. I can be in a room with you, but I don't want to talk and I don't want to fucking cuddle. Right. And that was a hard thing for her, you know. And I can see where it is, where it would be, you know. I mean, like understanding where she was coming from, right? I totally get it, but I couldn't get past my own hang up on that. And so yeah, that makes maintaining this kind of thing very, very difficult. It's, you know, you have to be open to be touched by your spouse, right? If you want to, you know, keep your spouse, which obviously I didn't do very successfully. Um, but I don't know. I'm not sure why I'm even whinging on this. Just the idea that I didn't expect to have children. I didn't expect to have a life beyond my 20s, you know, of any kind, you know. And not to put too fine a point on it, I hated my father, right? Barely knew the man, but I hated him nonetheless. I have hardly any connection with the man. What little I did know of him, what little I did experience of him was not ideal in my mind. And he was not a great father. He wasn't. And I was very much of the opinion at the time that we follow in our parents' footsteps no matter what. You know, one way or the other, we always end up coming back around to whatever path it was that they were on, right? Because it's the only path that you really know, like from birth, right? That's what you're shown. I've since come to disbelieve that. I don't believe that that's true because I believe that I think that the choices that you make dictate more where you end up than the choices that your parents made, right? Obviously, they dictate the starting point. Sure, I'll grant you that, but you don't have to stay in the same place. You don't have to continue the same stupid cycle, if there in fact was a stupid cycle, kind of thing. And he was not great. And so I had decided at a young age, I was probably 14, 15 years old, that I would never have kids, right? For a couple of reasons. Number one, even at that age, I didn't like kids, right? Little kids, kids my own age, just didn't care for them. And for the most part, that's still true. I don't like being around kids. The only kids that I actually enjoy being around and spending time with are my own. You know, I can fake it real good because I'm a parent and I worked in customer service for years, but I'm not, you know, it's not my favorite thing. And at the time, like even back then, I did not care for them. And generally speaking, obviously I had some friends and, you know, I'd spend time with them. Hi, Anna. Lord help us, Tampa. Welcome in. Good to see you. Um, Aaron Laura, good to see you. Yes, yes. I am Turkey Thulu. So I had decided when I was young that I would not be having kids for two reasons. Though obviously, the aforementioned, I didn't like kids. I still kind of don't. Um, and number two, I was horrified at the prospect of becoming my father. Right, everything I knew about that man was not good, not something I wanted to emulate or repeat. Right, so I had decided at a young age that my line would die with me. Boy, was I wrong about that. um, Not only would it not have died with me, as it turns out, I have a couple of siblings through him, half siblings, that I've never met. I've never met any of them who also have children. So the line would continue anyway, one way or the other, with or without me. And number two, like I said, once I got past 30 and I realized I had no plan, no nothing, and I started reflecting on the nature of being alone, I decided to try to change that, to see if I could find a life, find someone I could spend a life with. So I started dating, like officially, really, truly going out and dating, trying to find somebody who wanted to spend a little more than just an evening with me and all that. Aaron Laura, don't worry about being sorry about that. I'm just kind of like riffing on things that I'm grateful for, and then I get into backstory, and so that's kind of where we're going with this. But appreciate the concern anyway. And yeah, they do make me proud. They're awesome. But they I didn't expect them to ever be a part of my life either. So I started dating, right? I went out on a few serious dates, and I'm not talking. And when I say dating in this context, I mean other than how my friend Lawrence Knight would paint it. I was not just slutting around. I was actually taking girls out, to dinner, to, movies, to lunches, tea, or whatever the fuck it was that they wanted to do, um, asking people out, that kind of thing. And that, which honestly, to this day, there are only two things in the world that make me nervous like a little boy, right? Knees shaking, fucking palms sweaty and shit. You got a stammer in the back of your throat. Number one is job interviews. Fucking terrible at job interviews. Luckily, I'm a damn good worker, which, tends to speak for itself, thankfully, but makes me nervous as shit for some reason. And two is asking somebody out, like on a date, that makes me nervous as hell, right? I've had guns poked in my face, nothing like that, right? But it was a daunting prospect, especially given that I had crossed that hump over into 30, right? And I had not been exposed to any like red pill crap or any of that nonsense at that point. So I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm in my prime and I need to find somebody who's 19 or whatever to bear all my children. That wasn't my concern. I was actually mostly dating women my own age, right? I've always more or less dated women my own age. There have been one or two exceptions, but and I went on a few, and some of them went okay, and some of them not so much. And it was just, I mean, that's what dating is: trial and error. It's trying to find somebody who is compatible in all the important ways. And eventually, I'm not going to tell like the details of the story, obviously, just because I don't want to dox myself. I certainly don't want to dox my ex-wife, but I end up running into her in a checkout line at a box store where she worked at the time. 1 second. Hey JB, welcome in, man. So I run into her because I was living in another state at the time, but I came to this other place to find to see some old friends. And while I was there, I was staying in this motel room, and I had nothing to do, right? While everybody was asleep and all that shit, because I was on vacation, I didn't have anything to do, and so I went down to the local box store and I bought a mini DVD player to plug into the TV that was in the room, and a bunch of DVDs and a bunch of supplies because I ended up staying longer than I intended. I intended to be there for like 2 days. I ended up being there for 3 weeks. So I went and I bought a bunch of entertainment stuff to keep me occupied during the night hours and all that stuff. And she was the one who checked me out, and I was just like, I don't know, kind of, this is going to sound fucked up. I was smitten from the moment I saw her ass. She has a fantastic ass. Just incredible, and I loved her walk and her sway and all that. And I was just like, she looks really good. And I didn't think too much of it, right? And so I get back to the motel room, and I just can't get that out of my head, right? Normally I just look, do the pass by or whatever, and then I just, move on with my life. And I just couldn't get it out of my head. And I was just like, I wonder, whatever. And so I went back and I bought some more stuff just to go through her checkout line again and kind of feel her out a little bit. And she was very friendly and very pleasant. And of course, I'm not stupid. I mean, if you work in customer service, that's your job, is to be friendly and pleasant, right? that's literally what they pay you to do, So, and she's very good at it. So but I thought that there might have been like a bit of a twinkle or whatever in her eye. I don't know. It was just enough that I went back to the motel room. I showered, I shaved, I got cleaned up. I just, I mean, I'd had a shower earlier that day, but I wanted to be like, clean. And she was working graveyards, right? So I get there just in time as she's walking away from the register, going to clock out and leave, right? And I managed to catch her just in time and ask her if she wanted to go have breakfast with me, because it was like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And so she's, of course, surprised. So she asks for my number, doesn't want me to, doesn't want to just like give me hers kind of thing as a safety feature or whatever. This was back in like 2011. Women were a little more cautious about that by that point. And, fair enough, whatever. But I couldn't give her my phone number because my phone number was a landline in another state. And I wouldn't be able to answer it anyway. Eventually she got it out of me, but yeah, I was just like, I mean, if you give me yours, I can call you from the motel room kind of thing. I'm staying in a motel right now in town, and I gave her all of the red flags, Like, this guy's a drifter. He's a serial killer. He's a whatever, like he's, I don't know anything about him and all that. And still somehow I managed to convince her to have breakfast with me. Now, she had some stuff she had to do. What I didn't know at the time was that she had a young daughter. And so she had to go, like, home, wake her up, get her ready for school, take her to school and all that stuff. And so there was stuff she had to do before that. But after that, she would have been free. So we agreed to meet at this restaurant at 9 a.m. And we did. I got there a little bit early because, just trying to make a good impression. Sorry about that, folks. Don't smoke. And I waited a little bit, and then I noticed that she had pulled up outside and hadn't come in yet. And so I was like, oh, I wonder if something's wrong or whatever and all that. So I walk out to meet her, right? Which also apparently huge red flag at the time for dudes. I don't know. I wasn't thinking anything of the kind. I was just going to walk her into the restaurant, right? It never occurred to me that I might be appearing to be some kind of dangerous predator or murderer or something. So I walk out to meet her, and she's out there smoking a cigarette. She smoked at the time. She's since quit years ago, but she smoked at the time, and so did I. And she smoked a cigarette and jamming out to of all things, Soul Asylum, right? Which I later found out is her favorite band of pretty much all time, or one of her favorite bands of all time. And not that that has any relevance, but just the memory is very clear about that. And so we eventually walk in together, and we sit down, we order, and we start talking to each other a little bit, and I'm asking her, I was like, I'll tell you a little bit about me, tell me a little bit about yourself and all that. And she was kind of dodgy about it. Like, I don't know what you want to know. I'm just me, which later on I found out was a massive red flag for women, by the way. That means they have no intention of telling you anything about themselves is true, which turned out to be the case because I found out all kinds of shit about her after we were married and on our way to divorce that she had never told me, that really should have been upfront about. But at the time, it was just kind of like a flirty back and forth, and we seemed to get along. And we had breakfast for 4 hours, right? During which time she took a photograph of me. I allowed her to take a photograph of me, which I almost never let anybody do. But given her reasoning, I was cool with it. She sent the picture to a friend of hers just in case she disappeared. Made total sense to me. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. No problem with that. Nice to meet you. I'm an elder Scott, right? And I just, I don't know. We hit it off pretty good and spent a lot of that day together. And then she had to go deal with child stuff. Like she eventually let me know, yes, she had a kid. I didn't know that right away. Um, and there's no reason that she had to tell me right away either. I mean, we just met. We didn't know each other. I mean, we didn't even know each other's last names yet. And I go over to my buddy's shop. My buddy owned a auto repair shop at the time, and I was just like, "Dude, I just met this chick. I got to get her." Like, and he throws this quote in my face all the time. I was like, "I got to get her to like me before she figures out what a geek I am." Which I apparently succeeded in doing because she got back together with me before she went into work that night, and we hung out quite a bit again and made out quite a bit, and we spent much of the next 2 days together in my motel room doing all manner of unseemly things. I had a lot of fun with her. Um, but we did other things too. Like, we went to eat and we watched some movies together and all that stuff and got to know each other a little better. And it just kind of blossomed out of nowhere. And I ended up moving to another state for this woman, right? That I had no intention of doing. I wasn't intending to move. I was intending to move, but I wasn't intending to move to that location. There were a number of locations I was considering, one of which hilariously was Japan. I was thinking about going to do one of those those 2-year kind of stretches where you work visa kind of things where you show up, you teach English for 2 years, and then you come back home, but you experience Japan in the meantime, right? And so I was thinking about that. I was thinking about Seattle because regardless of all of the nonsense that goes on there politically and socially, it's very, very beautiful country, right? And I like the rain. So I was thinking about that at the time. I was thinking about a couple of other places, maybe Flagstaff, Arizona, because it's not too hot, but it's still, a whole lot less snow than I was used to seeing. And I was just running through these things. It's a good thing I didn't go to Japan though, because this was like a year before Fukushima. So it was a whole thing. And I ended up moving up into the same state, not quite the same town, but into the same state as this chick, and we just started seeing each other. And I mean, at the end of that 3 weeks, we'd been like kind of dating, like really officially dating for a couple of weeks, and she had a real issue with the fact that I had to go back home to like move. I was like, all my stuff's there. I got a life back there that I need to tie off. I need to like tie up some loose ends and stuff before I can, commit to anything. I was like, I do need to go like take care of some actual business and all that. And it's going to take a little while. It's going to take a couple of months probably. I still had a job there, all this stuff. And, so I ended up leaving for a while, and when I came back, we just kind of picked up like I had never left, and I got to know her kids and all that, and eventually, we ended up moving in together, and we were, we got pregnant a couple of times, one of which did not go well. The other one resulted in my only biological child, but I'm more or less like I didn't legally adopt her child, but I sincerely regret that. I wish that I had. She's an adult now, and all that, but I do regret not adopting her. But I took her under my wing and became dad to her. She started calling me dad when she was like, I don't know, 10, something like that. Asked me if she could, which was so weird. If you talk about things that are the way the universe works, right? Sometimes history rhymes, when I was 4 or 5 years old, I have a little half sister by my stepdad, right? Who was not my stepdad at the time. And I remember being out fishing with him, and I asked him, "Can I call you dad?" And he says, "Sure, buddy. You can call me dad as long as you want." 40 plus years later, and he's still dad, right? And the same thing happened to me with this girl, you know, and it just struck me. I was just like, I am reliving this moment, but from the other side. And it was a very surreal thing, but it's like a very fulfilling kind of feeling, you know. Um, yeah, and I mean, you know, I met her when she was 9, and she didn't know her own biological father and hadn't seen him since about the same age as the last time I had seen mine when I was her age. And I was pretty much it. I was the closest thing she had to a dad, so I became dad, and I took that on, and I don't regret it for a second. I love that kid, you know. And then we had my other child, and then about a year after that, we ended up getting married. You know, had the kid out of wedlock. It was a whole thing. My mom wasn't very happy about that. But we tried to build a life, and we were actually together, I think, almost as long as we were before we were married as we were after we were married. So we only lived together for about 2.5 years after that, and then we split, and we remained married for about 5 years, but the divorce came after that, and it was just you know, my youngest was about 6 years old at the time, and that was a hard time. But I look back on all of this, right, and I look back on, to get back to the point of the story. I look back on all of the things that occurred then, all of the things I did, that she did, that we did together, that we did working against each other, that just like the entire life together, right? And there was a lot of suck, right? There was a lot of suck in that. But there was some good shit too. I didn't marry her for no reason. You know, I know that I'm not the most charitable when it comes to recounting my marriage and my ex-wife, but I didn't marry her for no reason. I did love her very much, and I had reason to love her because there are some very amazingly good things about her. You know, there's just kind of a whole lot of this other stuff too. You know, and it was just you know, and I wasn't a perfect husband either. I can't blame it all on her. You know, the word neglectful has been used by exes of mine more than once. Women who do not know each other, by the way. So apparently I'm not very good at like maintaining relationships. I'm just sort of there. Um, but yeah, it was, but I look back at all of that, all of the heartache and the nastiness and the vitriol and just the venomous little needling of each other. And I look past that to the good stuff. But the most good were those 2 kids. And whatever else I may ever say about this woman that I married, or think, or feel, or whatever, she gave me the 2 greatest gifts I have ever received or ever will receive, and I will forever be grateful to her for that. And that's the point of the story. Gratitude. I am grateful for my children, and I am grateful to my ex-wife for my children very much. And a part of me will always love her for that. You know. Hi, old Blindy. Good to see you. Nice suspenders. Yeah. No, the kids. Yes, the kids were the greatest gifts. You know, I will always be grateful for them. And that's mostly what I'm grateful. I'm also kind of grateful not to be dead yet. I know that I started the whole story with I didn't expect to live past 30 or 230 even. And at the time, I would have been probably more or less happy to jump into a box. But these days, I'm in less of a hurry to do that. You know, what's really funny about living with kind of a half-assed death wish for most of your life, your formative years, is that it does something to the way you think about death. I, I don't know. I I don't fear it. I don't have this fear of mortality in the same sense that like most people do have, because I sought after it for so long, right? Now, I mean, instinctually, obviously, I have a fear of things ending and all that, just like everybody else does. But in terms of like philosophically speaking, thinking about it, I don't have this fear of it. If it happened tomorrow, I'm more or less at peace with that, because, you know, it just is what it is, man. It is what it is. And I've accomplished some things that I'm very proud of. I've done some shit that I'm not so proud of. I've lived a life, and it's so if it happens tomorrow, I'm not saying I'm not looking for it anymore. I'm not out seeking for it anymore. But I've been ready to go since I was like 8 years old, man. So like I'm not I wouldn't exactly be the most distraught over it if it did happen, right? So yeah. Well, I mean, every day I wake up, Aaron, you know. So hey, I will say, old Blindy, though, no, those were some damn good socks. They were. I still have them. They're awesome. Super warm and toasty. So, but yeah, no, I guess it's that time. The turkey face, I guess, is sitting here telling you, is like, look, everybody's got something. There's something in your life, no matter how shit it is. There's something in your life that is worthwhile that you are grateful for. Everybody's got something. So I don't know. I just think that this is that time to reflect on these things, I suppose. So, and like I said at the top of the show, for those of you who missed it, I was planning on doing several like topical rants, timely rants about things that are going on and all that tonight, and I just decided, no, I'm in a good mood. I'm just gonna not do that. So this is why we're talking about this. Also, I have Cthulhu turkey Cthulhu face, so it seemed fitting. So, what's this say? I'm concerned that afterwards might be something worse, the fear of not knowing what comes, if anything. I mean, yeah, I could see that. But, you don't know what's around the next corner either, even in life, right? Everything is a surprise, really. It's a great selfie. So yeah, it's I guess that's top of my list of things that I'm grateful for. I am grateful for the friends and family that I have. I am grateful for you guys too. Sappy as that sounds, I really am, because y'all give me something to do with my free time, frankly. It sounded a lot more callous than I meant it to, but this little hobby that I started up 3 years ago, just sort of talking into the ether. I'm glad you guys are out there on the other end listening. I really am. You make my day, and I appreciate you, and thank you. So, yeah, it's what are y'all grateful for aside from Aaron's bastard cats? It's not my thing. Cats. I've never no cats. It's not a thing for me ever. Sam, IRL friends are losers. You guys are cool. No, I do, believe it or not, I do actually have friends and family outside of the internet. They do exist. Most of them think that this is retarded what I do here. So it's like, why don't you just go out and beat some real people? And I was like, I have real people, and I also have my digital friends. So yep, absolutely. So yeah, I like to I don't always feel up to streaming. Like when we got scheduled shows and stuff, I don't always feel up to it right up until I hit that live button, and then boom, switches on most of the time. Sometimes not so much. Sometimes, and I think it's obvious which times those are, where I'm just like, I can't talk right. But there are days when I'm just like, I just kind of don't feel like it. But I'm always glad when I do. Nearly always. I mean, there are certain obviously subjects that put me in a mood and usually put me in a mood for fucking days. But I do appreciate you guys being here, showing up, and I appreciate that there's any audience at all. I mean, we hit 370 subscribers just yesterday, right? I never thought there'd be that many people willing to even click the stupid button, let alone pay any attention to anything this idiot has to say. It was surprising, very surprising that there was even a hint of an audience out there for me. I mean, when I started doing this, I had 3 subscribers, right? I have no idea to this day who those fucking people were because this account was under a different moniker at the time. It had a different at the time. Same account. I just changed all that shit. And I hadn't put out any content. The only reason I had an account was so I could comment on other people's shit. That was it. I was just a guy in the audience, right? So I was just like, who the hell is subscribing to me? I still have no fucking idea who they are. So, it was a strange thing just to even have any. I was like, for a couple of years there, I was looking at it, I was like, why the hell do I have 3 subscribers? I don't do anything. And then when I started doing stuff, it was a slow roll at first. It's still kind of a slow roll, obviously. If you look at, if you compare my numbers to other people's numbers, yeah, it's still a slow thing. I've been doing this for 3 years. We're still under 500 subs, but honestly, I'm not heartbroken about that. I like being able to connect with you guys and to talk to you guys. I like being able to include you in the panel conversations as much as possible. And I had this fear that if I ever do get big enough to have like 11,000 people watching a live stream at any given time, which I don't think is ever going to happen, like ever. But I also didn't think there'd be 370 people subscribed either. My fear is that I will not be able to connect with chat anymore. Because I've seen how that happens on others. And even when you slow it down to like half speed or whatever, like it still scrolls by too fast for the mods to do anything, let alone for the streamer to be able to catch any of that. And I don't like that idea. I don't like not being able to connect. I like the fact that I know your names. I know your handles rather. I know something of your personalities, at least your online personas. I can recognize you. I can, I was like, oh, that's a thing old Blindy would say, or yeah, that's definitely Aaron Laura. Or there's JB. I know something of you guys, and my fear is that we get to a point at some point down the road, way down the road, that I won't be able to address specific people because I won't have any idea who the fuck they are, because it'll just be like spinning by way too fast. I won't be able to keep up with that and do a show at the same time. And that's something I don't want to lose. So I'm not unhappy about being where we are right now, and also, like, not to put too fine a point on it, my viewership and watch hours are kind of phenomenal for this many subscribers. Like, we met the 4,000 watch hour requirement last month, right? I consistently have the same numbers watching my live streams that accounts that are 10 times or 100 times my size also get, and I think there's some algorithmic nonsense going on there too. But for some of them, like, you guys show up and you watch my shit, and I appreciate it and thank you. So yeah. Hey man, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's awesome. Lord help us, Tampa has put me in my feels. But I do. I sincerely appreciate that. That's an awesome sentiment. Especially since I talk out of my ass most of the time. Like, I don't do scripts, right? This is one of the reasons that I haven't put out a lot of like straight up videos. Like, if you go to the video section on the channel and you look at all the stuff on there, almost all of them are clips from live streams that have just been bookended. They're just like excerpts from conversations that we were having on live streams because I don't know how to write a goddamn script. It's not going to happen. I'm not. I'm not good at that stuff. Um, and I'm very, very bad at recording, and I'm still learning about editing. Obviously, again, just watch some of the stuff that I put out in the video section. Best thing I put out there was that thank you for the 150 episodes for Screaming to the Void, right? And that took me days. I tell you, it's not even that. There aren't even that many components to it. It's not even that heavily edited. It took me days to gather all those clips and to cut them down just enough to make it work with the excerpt of song that I had, and then put the bookends on either one of them. And then like I'm not a good editor. So I don't do a lot of that. I mostly just do the hit the live button and start talking thing. So I do appreciate that you say that you enjoy it. That's what we do. We just kind of turn it on and we go. I do try to be, JB. I do try to be, So like it's so funny because like Larry will tell you all shit that should just stay backstage, right? Sometimes he'll say things that are just like, maybe this is not business for everybody. Maybe this is like channel business that we should be handling offline. Because Larry likes to share, and I'm not knocking the guy. He likes to be open, he likes to share, and it's not I would say that's more to his credit than it's not. Right, generally speaking. But like sometimes you'll be like, okay, well, we can talk about that later, kind of thing. Whereas Sasquatch every time will be like, yeah, you don't have to tell them everything, dude. So it is what it is. Layering is caring. That's fucking hilarious. We need to make a t-shirt. Layering is caring. Actually, you know what? I'll throw that slogan by him because I think so. He's working on a couple of side projects offline and all that, and he might get some use out of that if you don't mind. I'll try to remember to. I'm gonna go ahead and star that one just so I don't forget, because I do forget these things. I tend to forget what I had for breakfast. Right, I forget if I locked my front door about 3 steps away from it. Right, so. My memory is not, my short-term memory, at least, is not very good. Long-term, I mean, obviously, I just recounted a whole story. I left out a lot of details, but I recounted a whole story from like almost 15 years ago. Like I do have my long-term memory is okay, except for faces and names. I don't know if I ever told you guys this. I think I probably have. I can tell you details about something I read 35 years ago. Like I read it yesterday. But with faces and names, particularly people who I am not in constant contact with, right? If I don't see or hear from somebody for like months or years on end, I start to forget their face, and then I forget their voice, and then I'll eventually will forget their name, right? And it's not something I'm proud of. I don't know why it happens. I hate that it happens. I can't seem to fix it. But it's always weird because I'll end up going to a town I haven't been to in forever, and you'll end up wandering into the grocery store, and somebody inevitably will come up to me and be like, "Hey man, how's it going? How you been?" and all this stuff. And I'll just be like, "Yeah, good to see you too. Who are you?" I don't remember you. I'm sorry. you know, it's horrible. It's horrible. Like I can recount the details of a plot of some fucking half a movie I watched, like, in the 90s, and tell you everything about that. But I just, with real people, real currently alive people, I just have the hardest fucking time keeping them in my memory. It's so strange. It's always been that way too, my whole life. It's not like there hasn't been an event that changed how my memory worked. It's just always been that way as far back as I can remember. And which I think we just established is not that far. And I kind of hate that about myself. So I have to do little things to remind myself of stuff, or I have to have somebody remind me. Larry is awesome about that, by the way. He reminds me about all kinds of shit that I need to know. Uh, you know, Amira will usually do it, but it will be too late after I needed it. Like she'll be like, "Oh, hey, don't forget that thing," and I'll be like, "Yeah, that was last week." So, yeah, it's kind of one of those things. It's cool. People can't be bothered to waste brain space for lames. Well, see, I wouldn't even put it like that, right? Like when I was telling you guys just a little bit ago how I had started dating when I was 30, right? I couldn't tell you anything about a lot of those women, anything at all. Like there's, I think one or two of them I remember like a name or a haircut or something like that pretty well, but for the most part, I get nothing, right? I They just sort of faded in my memory, and I hate saying that about them because I mean some of them were genuinely nice people that I would have liked to remember, but it just goes that way. It's you know, and I always thought that it had something to do with getting old, except it doesn't have anything to do with getting old because this shit was happening when I was 20, you know. So yeah. So I do have to like with Aaron Lawrence thing. I started the comments so it didn't go away right after I end the stream and all that. So I can send that to send that to Larry because he's going to do either one of two things with that air alarm. He's either going to get super offended or he's going to think it's the funniest, most clever thing in the world, and then he'll tell that joke to death. Those are the two responses we're going to get from him. One or the other. So Larry, I do talk to relatively frequently, and so I do, and I know him pretty well. And he does this thing where if he thinks a joke is funny, right, you're going to hear it until it isn't anymore. And he's still going to tell it after that because it's still funny to him, you know? So, uh, it's good times, man. Good times. But yeah, so, and that, like, I guess going back to if there is such a thing as a topic here, going back to the grateful thing. I mean, obviously the children are number one, top of the list, always, and foremost grateful um, thing I'm grateful for, persons I'm grateful for in my life, But yeah, I'm glad I'm not dead. That's good. I'm glad that I'm grateful that I've got somewhere to be tomorrow night, you know, and I'm grateful. I'm definitely going to be very grateful to get fat and happy with the food. Um, because that's the other thing is not everybody's got that. Not everybody's got a place they can go, even being antisocial like I am. Most of the time, I don't. So, my sister throws these gatherings, a couple times a year, usually in the summertime when we can do barbecues and have like games and stuff out. Like I don't know if you've ever seen the big tower Jenga that you get for like barbecues, huge blocks and all that stuff. Like we'd do that, throw horseshoes or whatever. Um, and all kinds of stuff. And usually there's like 30 people at her house and they're all eating and drinking. And it's just big old smorgasbord of food she's been cooking all day or whatever. And they're usually good times. But there's a lot of people. And half the time, half of them, I don't even know who they are because she's got like a revolving door of people in her life. And I don't mean that like, she's friends with people and then she's not friends with them. I just mean that she knows a lot of fucking people. And so there's always somebody there that I don't know. So that, which is a weird thing for me because I'm not very. So what's really funny about that is just my brother-in-law, her husband, hates people almost as much, or probably more than I do, actually. So he's usually hanging out in the garage, away from as many of them as he possibly can get. Um, but she's a very very social person, and she does these things. And over the last few years, I've become a little bit more and more reclusive in my real life, right? Outside of certain humans, I will spend time with any time, but there are, the vast majority of them, I don't, unless I'm going to work, I don't bother to interact with people outside of the internet anymore, who aren't obviously in those special positions. And she doesn't like that. She thinks it's unhealthy. My brothers also think it's unhealthy, but they just fucking let it happen, which is fine. um, and so she has gotten into the habit of sending people to my apartment to drag my ass to these events just so that I get out in the fresh air for once in a while. So, yeah. Yes, it's that sister. Yes. Yes, it is that sister. I have multiple siblings, and some of them I'm not related to by any measure of blood or marriage. It's just, when you grow up like I did in school and all that, with not a lot of like real family around, and the real family that you did have around, you didn't care much for, and all that. You sort of build your own, right? Well, she's one of them, and we're not biologically related, but we've just been close for so long that we may as well be, you know. Um, and yeah, so it's the one with the sex store. Kind of thing. But yeah, she drags my ass out into public, and sometimes it's horrifically uncomfortable. And one time, not this wasn't even that long ago. This is this earlier this summer. I'm sitting there, and all I've got with me is like I got a 2 liter of soda with me because I didn't feel like drinking alcohol because I don't actually drink that much, right? I've been working on the same bottle of scotch for 5 years. It's almost gone. I got to get a new one soon, but I don't drink that much. I don't like alcohol that much. I certainly don't like being out of control and inebriated, right? That time of my life is past. And she did not think that I was being as sociable and participating as much as I should. So she takes my 2 liter of soda, which arguably is probably just as bad for me as the alcohol, but what it's not going to do is get me fucked up. And she comes back with this like tall glass of something that she mixed. I don't know what the hell was in it. She says, "You're drinking this and you're catching up." Right. And my dumbass did apparently drink the whole thing. I don't know. I don't know what the hell she put in it, but it was strong. And I did not have another drink of anything but water for the rest of the night because I was very drunk and said some very silly things. And all that. But yeah, that was earlier this year. I don't think that wasn't the most recent barbecue because the most recent barbecue, I decided to get out of my shell a little bit and try to bang some of her friends. That didn't work out long term, but I was also drinking that night too. So it was, I don't know. It is draining to tolerate people. It really is. It can be, right? Like I'm not, you know, yeah, yeah, nostalgia. Um, I'm not a social person, generally speaking. Obviously, I can talk for hours on end on the internet. I've had a few years of practice doing that. First of all, if you go back, you watch the beginning, right? Go all the way back to the very first screaming into the void. Not only do I have no idea how to operate a stream or run a show at that point, but I have some convoluted ideas about what it should look like, and it's a mess. It's a disaster. I used to do this thing. Like now I'll just gather topics and I'll just kind of like wing it and we bounce from one to the other or whatever, right? But I don't have like anything written down exactly. I just save some topics in a file and all that. And it's like, okay, we'll pull up this one. Or hey, let's talk about this one. Or we'll start here and we just end up in fucking left field, as you guys know. And that's the show, right? Half the time we don't even get to the number of topics that I have pulled for that week. In fact, most of the time we don't. And which is fine because I think the show works better that way anyway. And what initially, the first few episodes, I had detailed bullet points written down in my hand right in front of me for those shows. And you can tell because I would just like, instead of doing transitions or any kind of segue into another topic or whatever, I'd be like, okay, we're going to talk about this from this point to this point. Okay, now it's time to talk about this other thing. Okay, now it's time to talk about this other. And it's so awkward and the word I want to use is stodgy, but that's not quite right. It's like staggered, like not in a good way. And so the same sister with the sex toy shop, her husband takes me aside at one point because he watches the show. He doesn't comment very much, but he does watch the show. He takes me aside and he says, "You know, you might just try losing the list." It's like maybe just don't do that. Like just see if you can like have like a conversation, like a natural flowing conversation. And you know what? He was right. He was right, and it led into what the show became, and it led into what I'm doing right now. I don't think I would be as good at talking to an empty fucking room as it appears to be from my end as I am if he hadn't said that, if he hadn't suggested that. I'd probably still be doing the same shit. We probably would not have gotten as far as we did. It completely changed my outlook on that. There's another thing to be grateful for, him stepping in and saying what he did when he did, because I think it saved the show. And granted, it was very early in the life of it, but so yeah, Shadooish. Yeah, Shadoo is a very regimented soul. But yeah, no, he was just like, "Hey, I got a suggestion about this thing you might think about." And I was like, "Okay, well, what is it?" And he told me, and I was like, "All right, well, we'll give it a shot or whatever." And I don't know, it just worked. It clicked. Something clicked, and the show became what it is, which is a free flowing conversation. Kind of stream of consciousness sort of thing, right? So one of the things that so my friend Adam, he runs the Renaissance Nerd channel, right? Was doing a show on there for a couple of years, which I was on for the most part, called Mellow Mondays, where we talked about like nerd shit. Well, at a certain point earlier this year, he started doing a daily stream where he basically covered all those topics. And Adam does not like to repeat topics, right? If he says something on one show, that's where it stays. He doesn't want to repeat it. He doesn't want to talk about it on other people's streams or any of that stuff, because he wants people to go to that show and watch it, because he's trying to build a business. And I totally get that. But what that did is that left us with a dearth of topics for Mellow Mondays, right? Because he'd already covered all that stuff. He'd already talked about it on his Sunday show. He'd already talked about it on his daily show. He'd already talked about it on Ballbusters, on Wormy's channel. Like he was out of steam, and he just didn't have the energy to go and bring up the same old topics or to find new ones, because he runs his channel 7 days a week. And so he ended the run of Mellow Mondays a month and a half ago, give or take, right? And started up something new. Initially with myself, Devil made me do it, and him. Devil had some changes to his real life work schedule, so he can't make that show anymore. But that, I don't know if that's going to be a permanent thing, or if he's going to end up getting a more ideal schedule that'll allow him a little more freedom with streaming later or not. But for the time being, he can't be on there. So it's just me and Adam, right? And he's decided to call it Stream of Conscious. And essentially, it is what I was already doing on my channel, what I'm doing now, which is just kind of having the conversation, just like we just start talking and we see where it goes, kind of thing. And it just sort of worked out that the co-host he happened to pick for that was a guy who pretty much only does that. So it's good. It's a good thing, Yeah. A healthy amount of autism. Yeah. Look, some of the guys that we get on the shows are unique, to say the least. Unique. If you go back far enough, there were some guests that we had and some regulars that we had who were very, let's say, focused in their own way, but not so much in others, right? Some of them were great, regardless, but yeah, there's a healthy dose of the tism all throughout, kind of thing. JB, thinking about doing something similar? Why not? Go for it, I say. Best advice I ever got about doing any kind of showbiz or YouTube or whatever. The best advice I ever got is just do it. Just bite the bullet. Just make the leap, right? Because if you just think about doing it, right, you can also think about reasons why you can't, or why it's not the right time, or maybe down the road, if you'll find yourself always putting stuff off, right? The best thing you can do is just leap right in. Get yourself a mic, and turn it on, hit live, and just see what happens. So that's the great thing about the internet, old blindy. There's plenty of room for everybody, man. There's plenty of room for everybody. Is one of the strange things of my life that I have learned is that while this is a small channel, right? There are much bigger channels who are aware of us. There are bigger channels that know my name that I've never interacted with. Some of that is due to connections that I have made over time, but some of it is just because, people come across this thing. Hell, last night, I don't know if y'all spend any time on Twitter. He does a lot of content on there. He's also on YouTube and Rumble and all the things. A guy called the Native Patriot jumped into my game stream chat last night, which was really cool. I'd never expected to see him there, And by the way, if you're out there listening, dude, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. You never know. You never know who's listening, kind of thing. And the thing is there are something like 4 million channels on YouTube, most of which never even see the amount of success that I have seen, let alone get to the big time, right? So yeah, plenty of room, dude. Plenty of room. You never know. So yeah, JB, definitely do it. I say do it. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I am. If you're planning on, are you planning on using this handle for it, or are you going to create a new channel? Would be my question. So, but yeah, if you get that rolling, man, you let me know. We'll show it for you. We'll pump it out. Let people know what's happening. So that's something that Netter's Network says. Netter over at Netter's Network. If you guys don't know Netter, she's great fucking people, and so is her husband, Troy Pacelli. He runs a channel called Last Call with Troy Pacelli. They do all kinds of cool pop culture stuff and nostalgia stuff. And she does like interviews. She actually interviewed me once, and Amira actually. She interviewed Amira as well. And I don't remember. I think they interviewed Larry too, but I don't recall exactly if they did or not. Really, really, really great people. But one of the things that they're always talking about, and if you're in their chats, right, they subscribe to everybody in their chats, and they ask that you subscribe to everybody in their chats. And it sounds like a lot, but the idea behind that is that we all rise together, right? A rising tide raises all ships, and they've done pretty damn well for themselves, and most of the people associated with them have done pretty well for themselves with that philosophy. I mean, I kind of drifted off a little bit, but I have nothing but good things to say about those people. They're awesome, but they do that. They shill stuff out. Sasquatch shills channels out all the time too, especially ones that aren't well known or well recognized or whatever. In fact, he used to do this show. Well, I think he still does do this show. He just doesn't do it as frequently anymore. Called Sasquatch Shills, where he'd have somebody on, he'd interview them about their first video, about their last video, and where they got the idea, what their handle's about, and all that, just all the YouTuber stuff. But it's kind of as an introduction to his audience, who tend to be great about, and actually some of you guys came over here from there, so that's not, it's a good thing. Just, yeah, go ahead and, it's not, I mean, look, it's communism if somebody's trying to actually take stuff from other people as well. Right. Like in this sense, I don't have a problem necessarily with what they're doing, because what they're doing is actually trying to, get everybody in a position to be monetized, which is capitalist. So, but yeah, no, if, just letting you know, man. Yeah, JB, you get that shit rolling. You let us know, okay? And we'll put it out there as far as we can. Obviously, my reach is not that far, but I know some people with bigger reach too, and we can push that shit out there. But yeah, it's a good time. Also, I would recommend it, even if nobody ever comes to watch your shit, man. It's fun. It is fun to sit here on a panel with people and just bitch about whatever. It's a good time. It really is. You wouldn't think so. And like I was saying earlier, how I'm an antisocial person. I'm also not that talkative in person. you know, like you can get me talking about stuff, right? Specifically topics I'm interested in. Obviously, Larry's used that against me on Abyssal Musings more than once. Um, but generally speaking, I'm pretty quiet. I keep to myself. I don't, go out of my way to initiate conversations or have discussions or any of that stuff, and all that. So this is like what I do here is almost like an outlet for all of the things that I don't generally say to people in real life, and that's a good thing to have. So yeah, meritocracy states that I subscribe to quality channels. I have a lot of channels that try to keep up with. Yeah, I mean, that's fair too. And that's one of the reasons that I never really subscribed to everybody who was over in their chats either, for that very reason, is because I get enough shit on my plate as it is, right? I don't watch a lot of the bigger channels that got me into doing this in the first place anymore at all, right? I used to watch a lot of like Nerdrotic, a lot of Heel versus Babyface, a lot of Critical Drinker, Mahler, like a lot of those kinds of channels. I used to watch a lot of those, and some other stuff as well. But I find that I don't have time to watch them anymore. Even if I was interested, a lot of it, like Mahler and Az, I kind of fell off from, just because I just sort of saw myself going in a different direction than what they were doing and all that. But for a lot of them, like, I just don't have the time for it. I have my own channel I'm running, number one. Number two, I have a full-time day job. Number three, I'm a parent. Number four, I'm just, when I do watch stuff, it either tends to be niche interest things that, only I care about, right? Or I'm spending a lot of hours each week watching my friends' stuff, like people on my level, right? I watch Adam's channel. I watch Anna's Gameland just put out a new song late last night, so I went and listened to that. I watched Devil's channel. I watch Amira's channel. Well, I'm on Amira's channel, but you get the gist. Like, people I actually know. I go and I watch Larry's stuff when I have the time, on his Night's Lore channel, because I would rather spend, if I only have so many hours in the week, I would rather spend that time watching my friends' channels, people that I'm actually trying to support, rather than people who don't need my support in the first place, right? People who've already made it or whatever, like, they don't need my likes and my watch hours. Like, I'm sure they'd be grateful for them. That's not the issue. The issue is just that if I have to divide my time up, I'm going to spend more of it watching people who I know could use it more, and people I know personally, kind of thing. So yeah, and it's just, so I just kind of fell off from a lot of those guys, and on a lot of other channels that I used to listen to and watch and all that stuff kind of religiously. Like, there were certain things that happen at certain times of day and during certain days of the week that happen every week at that time, that day, kind of like we do Screaming Into the Void. We had in Abyssal Musings, there's scheduled shows, and I would look forward to them each week, and I would like slot that into, that time slot for that week. I'd be listening to this show here, or I'd be watching this thing there, kind of thing. And there were a few things I still try to keep up on, but for the most part, that gets exhausting when you're running your own channel. It really does. And and I'm not just running this channel. I also do the back end for Amira on her channel as well. And I'm a guest on a couple of other channels, a regular recurring guest on a couple of other channels as well, plus with the increasing game streaming, plus the fact that my actual IRL work hours have not changed. I'm still working 40 to 50 hours a week, and I don't have time for all that. This is why I don't do anything on Sundays, right? You might have noticed I don't put out shorts. I don't, do a lot of posting or anything like that. Sometimes I put something out on Twitter or whatever, but I certainly don't do any streaming on Sundays, not even on other people's channels, right? It's because I need a goddamn day off. I need some time to, do my laundry, and maybe take a nap once in a while, get some food in me, that kind of thing. So And it is one of those things. So just like, yeah, I definitely, JB, like I definitely recommend getting into it if that's what you want to do. But I also recommend just be careful about your whole work life balance thing, right? Don't let it get out of hand. I did that a while back, and it was nightmarish. You know, you guys are always hearing Abe prattle on about how many shows he's on per week. Well, number one, that's because he doesn't sleep, and two, he's retired, so he doesn't. He has the time to fill. But which he's talked about. I'm not talking out of pocket here, but he is available for all those streams. I used to do that too. A couple years ago, right? We had another show on this channel called Star Trek Engage, where we were going over, the original series, episode by episode, weekly on Sundays, by the way. And at that time, Devil was running another show called Get Ranked on Sundays. Right after that, Adam has his Sunday show right before that. So it was like, and we're all three on Engage, and plus a bunch of other people. And then so it was like boom, boom, boom. It was just like 6 hours of streaming sometimes for some of us. 6 to 10 hours some Sundays. It was kind of nuts. And on top of that, I was doing shit for Amira, right? I was also expected to help out, to show support in the Lapeef chat when she was still doing regular Sunday shows over there. And I was on, like, I don't know, God, I was on 11 weekly shows at one point, every week, like 11 weekly 1 to 3 hour shows every fucking week, right? On top of running and like I think I was on like 6 of them with Devil because he was doing the same thing at the time. And it's actually why he and I are good friends, is because we've streamed together a lot more than some of you guys know we have. But we were driving ourselves into the fucking ground doing that and trying to keep up with the real life shit on top of all of that, right? It was like having 2 full-time jobs, and only one of them paid me. So I ended up cutting back a lot of that stuff. It's actually why I left Engage. Even though I was the co-founder and all that stuff, I ended up leaving that show at the end of the season 1 of TOS, and then they never came back from hiatus. But because I needed a day off, I needed to cut back on that stuff. So we stopped streaming it here, stopped doing it here. I stopped showing up to a bunch of stuff unless I was specifically asked to be there. And just kept it going with my 2 shows and with Amira. And then hell, even the Beelzebub thing. I wasn't even originally a cast member on Beelzebub. I was asked to step in to fill in for a couple of weeks for Kenzo. And I just kind of am still there. So like a couple years later, so yeah, you gotta watch that. You gotta watch that. You can't let that shit get out of hand, because it will eat up all of your time, and you'll find yourself like suffering from lack of sleep, which also contributes to shitty streaming, right? Sometimes it can be very entertaining. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just, I had, when I first started doing game streams a while back, I was playing God of War Ragnarok. I have a couple of streams on that game alone that are like 8-9 hours long. And I hadn't quite figured out how to do that yet. So I was getting into it, and I had to keep reminding myself that I have to talk sometimes because people are watching me play, right? I'm not just playing. And I would get to a point where I was so tired because it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the fucking morning. I'd been up all night streaming on this thing. And by like hour 4, the shit's starting to get blurry. By hour 5, I haven't said a word in like 45 minutes. By hour 7, I'm just dead and still just kind of trying to play. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. If you go back and you check into those, you don't have to watch those. There's like 8-9 hour streams, but the point is, don't let it eat away too much of your life, man. So yeah, on call can be rough. Especially if you're trying to do like a scheduled regular thing, right? That can be kind of rough. That's one of the reasons that Devil isn't on a whole lot of stuff besides like he does Ball Busters for a little bit, then hops over to Abyssal Musings, and then he does Beelzebub, but he isn't really doing anything else on his channel right now. It's just because his work is makes that difficult. Like his schedule makes that difficult, and he's got to be there at all weird hours and all that shit. It's one of the reasons I don't do on-call stuff at all anymore. Just because I need to be able to be there for the shows that are as they're scheduled, right? Um, Something that drives me nuts about Amira. Amira has no set schedule. She's never had a set schedule, right? We all kind of assume it's going to happen Saturday nights, and most of the time it does. But sometimes she goes live on a fucking Tuesday when I'm not even off work yet, right? Like I can't just quit being at work for that. You know what I mean? So, oh man. Ask your friends if they'll help you out with either stimulants or an unhealthy religious fanaticism. Those should help. I mean, they have their own drawbacks too, though, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I'm too old for drugs at this point. I am too old for. I'm pretty sure that the newfangled drugs that are out there will just kill me. All right, I've been clean for a very long time. I don't think going back would be a good idea. And if it did, I think that I'd end up running this channel to the ground pretty goddamn quick. So, but I am grateful for the channel. I'm grateful for the growth that we've had. I'm definitely grateful for the watch hours. I never thought I'd see that happen. I mean, it's kind of weird because I don't really care to get monetized on YouTube on account of like they're kind of predatory about the whole thing. Like with super chats, even like if you get to a point where you can take super chats, which is a 500 subscriber minimum plus 3,000 watch hours plus 3 videos a month plus, which I meet all of that criteria except for the subscriber count. But if somebody sends you a super chat, right, YouTube takes 30% of that straight off the top, right? So if you send somebody like $1, they get 75 cents. Or 70 cents rather, kind of thing. And it's a whole thing. That's one of the reasons that I use the Cash App. I pin the Cash App at the top because if somebody sends me something, I'll get the whole amount. If I send somebody something through it, they'll get the whole amount, right? That's they don't take it off the top like that. Not in those percentages by any stretch of the imagination. But monetization isn't really why I do any of this anyway. But if I were to do that, if we did manage to meet the 500 subscriber mark, right? I'm not even sure we could get monetized because, again, as I've said before, there's still that warning on my channel from like 2 fucking years ago over a clipped vid that you can only find on Rumble now because YouTube struck it within like 8 seconds of it being up. And so that warning is still in place on my channel. I don't have any strikes on my channel, but the warning is still there. So I'm not sure if I could get that. Plus, there's some copyright issues with some of the Paramount. Paramount was difficult to deal with with copyright for the Star Trek stuff, and so there's still some outstanding crap there that I'd have to actually get into the weeds with legally. And I don't know that I have the energy or the resources to deal with that at the moment, kind of thing. So there might be some obstacles in becoming monetized, right? But I don't know necessarily that. I suppose there are some perks that come with it too that might be kind of fun. And I always kind of wanted to see if I could do it, but even if we ever get to a point where we manage to meet all of the criteria rather, I don't know that I would actually even apply in the first place because money isn't really why I'm doing this. Like I'll take your money, like dirty whore I am. Y'all want to donate to me? Great, I'll take it, and I will thank you for it. But it's not a necessary thing. None of my content is ever behind a paywall. It will ever be behind a paywall. It's never going to be an obligation for me. If I ever get to a point where I can make a living on this, that'd be fantastic. I'd love that, but it's not the goal. The goal is to be able to do what I'm doing because this is the point. This is what I want to do. I want to be able to talk about anything, about what I want, when I want, kind of deal. I'm already doing what I set out to do. So, the monetization, if it comes, and great, that'd be awesome. But that's not the goal. That's not the point. It's never been the point. Not for me anyway. For some others it is, but yeah. Plus, if I ever get monetized, Larry will expect me to start paying him. So there's that. So, but I swear Alex Jones is on something. Wait, what did I miss something? Would I recommend starting a new username for a channel? I think that's entirely up to you. I think what a lot of people do, what I did, is kind of adopt a sort of on-screen persona, right? That's separate from like me, sort of thing. But it's not a necessity. I suppose it depends on if you're gonna be on camera with like your name out there or whatever. If you have any kind of concerns where that would be an issue in your real life, then I would definitely recommend against that. But if that's not a concern for you, then I don't know. Using your name is fine for a lot of people. I personally wouldn't do that, but I got hangups about it too. So grain of salt. So I don't know. I mean, I suppose if you're looking for like a name for the channel, though, like or for the show or whatever that you're planning on doing, like yeah, you want to come up with something that's like reflects your interests, but also tries to capture attention. Like if I had been thinking about it at the time, I don't know how the fuck I missed this opportunity, but I did. And now it's way too fucking late. We're 167, almost 67 episodes in. I can't change it now. But I would have called it Streaming into the Void because of the fucking pun, right? That would have been better. But I didn't think about that at the time. so here we are. But it's like, yeah, select something that's gonna stand out or something that means something to you, kind of thing. Maybe something relevant to whatever. Like, I don't know if you're gonna stick with like a niche topic or if you're gonna just kind of be all over the place or whatever, but something that sort of reflects the idea of what you're doing and all that. So yeah, I mean, I would probably, if I in that instance, I would probably start maybe a new channel or whatever for that express purpose. Like keep this one for interacting in chats and then do all your other stuff on the other stuff kind of thing. Like there's a lot of people don't know this. Amira's got like fucking 4 channels, like she's got a couple of incognito ones that she uses that nobody knows about but me. And I'm not telling you what they are, but they're out there. And all that. You don't want it to affect the real world. Yeah, I'd probably then use a PFP or an avatar or whatever. And then I would probably select a pseudonym, something you can live with, by the way, because the whole Samuel the Infamous thing is a bit of a mouthful. That's why most people call me Sam. They shorten it because it's a pain in the ass to say the whole thing the whole time, So that's why we call Devil. That's not his name. His name is Devil Made Me Do It. It's like a whole thing, but nobody calls him the whole thing because it's a pain in the ass and it's like it is what it is. So, but yeah, if you don't want it to affect real life, yeah, definitely keep those things separate. Absolutely. And actually I would go as far, if you plan on like making it like a real thing, you might start a new email account for like business contacts, for like collabs and that sort of thing. Like the one that I have attached to the profile page here on YouTube is one of like 4 or 5 different email addresses I have, but that's the public one. That's the one the public gets to use, right? When they need to contact me or whatever. I've got personal email on, another account. I've got another ancient personal email account I haven't checked in like 7 years, and it's got 23,000 fucking spam messages in it that I've never looked at. And I've got a business one for my actual day job, right? That I never give to anybody except people who are internal in the company. So, like it's a good idea to kind of separate that out, So, yeah, I would probably do that. do it like that myself. I did do it like that, obviously. Um, but ultimately, it's really up to you how you want to do it. And whatever it is that you end up wanting to do, I just say go for it. Jump in with both feet and see what happens. And don't be surprised if it sucks at first, right? If you do a stream or you make a video or whatever and it's fucking terrible, because everybody's first time sucks. Everybody's first time is like nails on chalkboard to them and often to the world at large. So don't worry about that. Just like plunge in, because you will get better over time. You will improve. You will find ways to make it work in a better sense as you go along. So yeah, don't sweat the small stuff like that. Just do it. As Nike says, just do it. Oh no, not at all. JB, look, here's the thing. Tonight, this, like I said, that's kind of what this show is. It's just me having a conversation with you guys. You didn't derail shit, man, as far as I'm concerned. And obviously I'm not really like an authority on how all this works, or I'd have like 2 million subscribers at this point if I was. I'm still fucking up here and there. I'm still learning new things constantly. And the whole thing's a process. But no, you didn't derail anything, man. We're just having a conversation. It's good. It's good. So I get it. I chose a lengthy YT handle too. People started calling me Lord. Him being devil made perfect sense to me. Yep. It happens, man. It happens. Anytime somebody uses like a long handle, it gets shortened. It's like, or it gets shortened to initials, like the Joker's voice, who's been on this channel many, many times. We just call him JV, because it's just, I don't want to say Joker's voice every time I address him, so it's JV. That's it. That's how I address him. That's even how I put his name in the fucking descriptions when he's on, So I shortened Caucasian Sasquatch to Squatch. A lot of people call him Cass, CAS, and so we all got our ways around that. Yeah, I get it, man. And people who have like multiple words, sometimes they'll just take I'm glad they didn't do this with mine, because it'd be like STI, STI or whatever. But they'll just take the initials, right? Like if you all know who Darkside Phil is, nobody calls him that. They just call him DSP. So, and he's got no control over that. That's the other thing. If you're going to get into this YouTube gig, be aware that you do not get to choose your channel lore. Your channel lore chooses you. You have zero control over that. Anything you put out there on the internet is out there, and it is beyond your control at that point. It becomes a whole other animal, beholden to no rules that you recognize. So just be aware of that, right? And be willing to roll with it. That's the most important thing. Number one thing on the internet: if you show weakness, it will devour you, right? So like somebody says something, never, ever, ever let them know if something bothers you, right? If the joke's getting to you or whatever, or, you're just annoyed with something that keeps getting brought up over and over again or whatever. Never, ever, ever allow them to see that, because once you do, they will never let it go. Never. And there's some fucking autistic sons of bitches out there. So, just be aware of that too. There are pitfalls. So, all right, Aaron Laura, you have a good night. It's good to see you. Thank you for hanging. Appreciate it. And we'll talk at you soon. So, see, this is the kind of thing, I don't ban people, and it's a damn good thing, Old Blindy, because that's a damn near bannable offense, that right there. See, this is what I'm talking about. I never should have brought up that I don't like cats. And the thing is that's old lore. I brought up why cats suck as a bullet point topic in the very first episode of Screaming Into the Void. There was a whole discussion on it. It's one of the very first things I did on this channel was bitch about cats. So yeah, there's going to be people coming after. I mean, Anna keeps threatening to fucking mail me one. So yeah, just be aware that whatever you put out there is out there, and it's no longer up to you what happens with it after that. So, but I think what we'll probably do is we'll probably end up closing down this here for the night. I just kind of wanted to hang out with you guys. It's the end of the month, so it was time for one of these anyway. It's right before a holiday, that kind of thing, and all that. But yeah, we'll probably close this one down a little bit, and then I think probably in I don't know, maybe half an hour. We'll see how soon I get it up and running. I'll probably start doing some more Sekiro streaming here shortly because I don't have to get up early tomorrow at all. And I'm kind of addicted to that game, and it's really unhealthy, and I'm going to make people suffer through it with me. So, yeah. But yeah, probably here in a little bit, but I need to grab something to eat, have a cigarette, maybe drink some water because I don't know if you can tell my throat's kind of parched at the moment. But and maybe warm my apartment up a little bit. It's cold as shit in here. Look, did the winter weather hit you guys yet? Because it hit us this week, and it's cold. It's cold. So but yeah, no, I appreciate you guys hanging out. We've been at this for an hour 40 minutes as it is. Just me ranting and raving and a hooting and a hollering and all that jazz. This has been good though. It's been fun. It's nice to just have a nice relaxing stream once in a while. So what's winter? Shut up. But yeah, it is. It's good. It's good to just do this. I like I said at the top, I had intended to do like a whole rant on some stuff that's going on in the world today, but I didn't want to. I just kind of wanted to hang out with you guys, and I'm glad I did. Glad you guys came by and all that, and it's been good. It's been fun. I've enjoyed the hell out of this. So yeah, 30s. Oh man, I would kill for 30s. It's 10 outside right now. 10 degrees. 10. Right? And this is the warm night. It even snowed a little bit earlier today, which it hasn't been doing all winter, which is kind of strange. But our winter starts at the end of September. So generally speaking, but yeah, no worries, man, no worries. All right, guys, we're gonna shut down now. So again, to reiterate, I will be doing a Sekiro stream here probably a little bit later tonight. Not a whole lot later. I gotta get it set up and all that stuff, plus the other things I mentioned. There will be no streams of any kind tomorrow because I'm going to be hedonistic about things. But we will be back on Friday for Abyssal Musings. Larry may not be there for that one. He's got holiday family stuff going on right now. But if he can, he'll be there. I mentioned this earlier too. If he can, he will be there. But if he can't, you guys get to just hang out with me and Abe and possibly Devil, and we'll just wing it and have a good time. And then obviously we'll be back on Saturday for Screaming into the Void. We got some shit to talk about this week, so it'll be interesting. As a matter of fact, slight little preview. I can pull up some of the stuff that I have for that right now. As of right now, we've got the UK government is going to scrap trial by jury, except for a handful of things, which is horseshit. There was an incident where a 60-year-old woman got caught with like a disabled chick in a dog kennel in her backyard recently. And also the VP of Campbell's Soup is out on his ass because he said some shit that basically called out Campbell's Soup for being like synthetic food for poor people, among other things. Just a little bit of a taste, and assuming we get to any of those topics, because you know how it is, we'll talk about it on Saturday. Also, there won't be any Beelzebub this week. If you guys watch Devil's channel, Thanksgiving's kind of taken over everything for him right now, so he's not going to be able to do the show, so we're not having it. But I do believe that Stream of Conscious will be back on next Monday on Adam the Renaissance Nerds channel. And of course, whenever Amira goes live, I will do my very best to be there, provided I'm not still at work. So probably Saturday and all that. But otherwise, yeah. Appreciate you guys coming. We'll see y'all next time. Have a great night. And remember, it could always be worse. Could be raining flaming cobras. Bye, everybody.